Reverend Sylvia. Unmute and we'll be on our way. And if you unmute,
can you hear me now?
Sure can.
Okay. Well, I've spoken about love for so many years now that you've heard it all before. So I've tried to change it around as much as I can. So just relax, long-term members, just try to remember what you do remember. Well, God is love. We've heard this said so many times before that it's almost like a cliche. And we say it without realizing the power of this inner knowingness that God is love. And as we've all sprung from the one source, we're all born of the one God. And we're all born of love. So we're meant to live with love, to give love, and to take love, and to share love. So love is our divine inheritance, given to us freely to experience and to share its power with all our fellow beings. You know, St. Paul told the Corinthians, man is the image and glory of God. Oh, what a powerful and inspiring thought. We are all made in the image and glory of God. What a revelation when the truth of this is really apprehended. We are spiritual beings right now, living in a spiritual universe right now. And made in God's image, we are brought into being by God's grace, which is God's loving givingness. And this is what love truly is, a giving of the self, without conditions or boundaries placed upon our givingness. Out of love for us, God gave us life and implanted in us at the very core of our being, that same love to be discovered and expressed through us for the benefit of all. And when we discover this well of infinite love indwelling, and we learn to give out this love unconditionally, then we've learnt the secret of a happy life. For love is the very basis of our being. You know, Jesus, our master teacher, made it very clear that the first two commandments are to live with love. Giving the first commandment, hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. Now this is the Shema, the central prayer of the Jewish faith, the foundation of Jewish belief. Jesus was quoting this from early Jewish law. And we find it first in Deuteronomy in chapter 6, verse 4. And there are no half measures here. We are instructed to live wholly with love. And then Jesus goes on to say that the second commandment is, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There's none other commandment greater than these. So the master also instructed his disciples, saying, this is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. He repeats this later, saying, these things I command you, that ye love one another. So if love is the greatest commandment, then love must be the greatest power on earth. And we have this power inborn. It is our own divine inheritance. In every heart, this loving power is beating, urging each individual towards recognition of the cosmic wholeness. And there can be no separation. We are all one, living in a loving unity of being. So if this is so, why are we not all loving our neighbours as ourselves, living in loving relationships, just living with love, enjoying love? Could it be that so few people recognise the truth of our own being, that we are born of love, to be love, and to live unconditionally in a universe powered by love? Yeah, next time you are sitting on a train or a plane, try thinking of all the mechanics that make train and plane travel possible, and then know that the power behind all this is love. And as you realise that love powers the universe, your mind will take you to a more fascinating destination than the train or plane. Every atom of creation pulses with the power of love as it energizes the cosmic movement towards wholeness, in which we are all meant to live in loving oneness. So why do some people have a sense of separation and alienation from the all good that God has ordained for us? Could it be that we have not yet recognized that infinite love rules through immutable law, an immutable law of good, good and only good? For God wills for us only that which is good. Good is pressing forward into our lives every moment of the day, trying to overcome our unconscious efforts to thwart it by thinking critical thoughts and acting in selfish, egocentric ways, saying hurtful words. When we do these things, we are withholding our love and breaking the divine law of all good. And we don't realise just what we are doing to ourselves by playing mind games. I won't speak to her because I don't like her manner. Or I won't ring him because it's his turn to ring me. Or I won't mix with that lot because they don't believe what I believe. And so we find ourselves acting out of fear instead of love. The Bible tells us in 1 John that there's no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out all fear. When we recognise the truth of our being, that we're born of love, to be loving beings, then we can't act out of fear. We turn the invisible key that unlocks our flow of love, and it flows out into ever-increasing circles of loving friends, loving relationships, and we give and receive love in the way God has ordained us to live. And we will find that love is the greatest power. Love nourishes the giver and the receiver. It dissolves all disharmony and brings us at last to our true nature. Love is the holy glue that binds us all together in the wholeness of being. All of nature responds to love. Love shows in plants. Plants blossom under our care. Creatures respond to love, and they respond to our thoughts of harmlessness. And the very elements settle down when we live with a sense of love and a oneness, a loving oneness with the all. You know, our companion animals love us unconditionally. They place no conditions upon us. They care not about our political or philosophical beliefs or what we wear or our daily habits. They just love us with just a pure outpouring of love. They see right through our outer facade and they love our inner essence. You know, my son's 2 dogs greet me with much joy every morning. And it doesn't matter that I've got no makeup on or my hair's all messy and I look like, well, I hate to say what I look like first thing in the morning. They just give me so much love and they love me unstintingly. If we could be just as loving the pure essence of each other without thought of outer differences, What a wonderful world of divine harmony this would be. You know, sometime after my mother made her transition, I was sorting out all her papers and I came across a big bundle of letters that I had written as I was travelling around Australia on a working holiday with my school friend Rose. Well, all the letters were very interesting, gave me a lot of information, but the more I read, the more distressed I became. Who was this pernickety, critical, judgmental person who wrote those letters? Couldn't possibly be me. But of course it was me. Oh dear. I criticised places I'd visited, people I'd met, just because they didn't conform to my standards of living, my expectations. I was horrified. What a critical, unloving person I must have been. Really, truly unlovable. However, I was very thankful that I was no longer that person. Oh, what a relief that I'd grown and changed into a very different character. My years of working in social welfare had taught me acceptance and to look past that which I had previously criticised. I'd learned to have respect for the other person's right to be different, to believe otherwise, to think differently, to have a different belief system, to live by a different set of values. And my years of studying the truth principles had taught me that we're all the same inside. We all have our own spark of divinity, the same essence of love and truth in everyone. And there's no one left out. We are all the same, all filled with a loving spirit, just waiting to be expressed. And this is what life does for us. Life places us in situations and conditions where we have all our rough edges smoothed down, all our inconsistencies and misconceptions knocked right out of us, all the lessons we need to learn presented to us again and again until we have learnt the lesson at long last and moved on to another stage of inner growth. Is there someone in your life who you feel very uncomfortable about? Give thanks that life has placed this person there because they're there to test you and they're there to train you and to learn the lesson, to accept them and look at them with love. And they won't leave your life until you do learn the lesson. And you will keep on attracting people that make you feel uncomfortable, for it's an immutable law. That which we resist persists until we learn the lesson and learn to live with love. We think of love as an emotion, something we have to give and receive or live without. We get into the mindset of striving for love, searching for love. We think that it is an elusive something that we are very fortunate to find. We forget that we are love. We are born of love, and we just have to be love to experience love. Benjamin Shields, in his book, The Birthright of Our Heart, tells the story of the Zen student searching for enlightenment. He was so overzealous. He spent every moment, every morning, noon and night, meditating and praying, and seldom stopped to eat or sleep. His Zen teacher became very worried about him. And he just watched his student become weaker and weaker every day. Eventually, he sat down with his student and expressed his concern. And he asked, "Why do you not eat and get the rest that your body deserves?" And the student replied, "Because I seek enlightenment. Enlightenment is the main thing. I can't stop till I gain enlightenment." The teacher placed his hand on the student's shoulder and said, What makes you rush after enlightenment? Perhaps all your hurrying carries you away from what you seek. Maybe enlightenment is actually behind you, and all you need to do is stand still and let it catch up with you. And so it is when we are all desperately seeking love. We strive, we search, we try to please. We feel ready for love and wonder why it eludes us, when all we have to do is to be still and be love. That's the trick, be love, and love will catch up with us all. There are many different aspects of love: marital, parental, paternal, and romantic love, and so on. The early Christians used the Greek word agape to explain perfect, selfless love, given with no conditions or thought of benefit to self, just a freely outpouring of love to each other. You know, in my seafaring days, working on Swedish cargo ships, the Swedes called me the Australienski. One captain was always teasing me about my Australian turn of phrase. One day he said, "Oh, you Australians with your, I love this book, I love this film, I love this music. I've even heard you say, I love spaghetti. Tell me, Australienski, how do you make love to spaghetti?" I just laughed and went on my way. I wasn't going to get into that.
Yeah.
I realised that his understanding of love was purely romantic, and all had different views of just what love is. But underlying all aspects of love is our divine inheritance, the great universal love which God pours unceasingly into our very soul. It is the love that gives us of itself without any thought of benefit to the self. It is pure self-givingness, a giving of the self that expects nothing in return, but which does activate a flow of love in return that is unstoppable. Charles Fillmore, in his book Talks on Truth, tells us, and I quote, "Love is the great magnet of God, an invisible magnet that draws to us all that we need, all that we love." And he goes on to say, "Love never sees anything wrong with that which it loves. If it did, it would not be pure love. Pure love is without discriminating power. It simply pours itself out on the object of its affection and takes no account of the result. The power of love is so great that it transforms all that it touches. Love is power, and power should be exercised only with love." Well, let us try telling all the power brokers in the world that. Well, let us consider again the first two commandments, that we must love the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and we must love our neighbour as ourselves. This implies that we should also love ourselves, for we are each an individualized expression of God, made lovingly in God's image. When we indulge in self-criticism, self-negation, self-judgment, then we negate the indwelling divine image, and we negate our God-given love. When we give that love spontaneously, unconditionally, we can then honour our own uniqueness, honour our own indwelling divinity, until we move from the small concept of self to the larger concept of our spiritual self, and give thanks for the grace of God, which brought us forth into being. Richard Carlson writes in his book, "Love is a choice." If we want to have love flourish in our lives, we must make loving choices, choices which require true loving action that translate into warm feelings, gratitude, acceptance, positive relationships, and hope. However, sometimes there are obstacles in the way of loving What really nurtures a loving life, though, is our willingness to remain in a loving space and to respond with love during these difficult moments. And then he goes on to say, in the end, I think my greatest concerns will be, how much love did I have in my life? How did I share my love? Who loved me and whom did I treasure? Whose lives did I impact? Did my life make a difference to someone else? How did I serve the world? I'm certain that my only concerns will be about how I did or did not fill my life with love. End of quote. Well, we all have our love inheritance. Let us give thanks for it and resolve right now to live our lives with love, love, and more love. God bless everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Reverend Sylvia. A round of applause. That sums it up. That's really it. Well done. I didn't remember the last time you did it, Sylvia. It was like it was all new again.
Oh, that's good.
You illuminated it brilliantly. And isn't it interesting how different aspects of love, as you mentioned, come to us at different times in our lives? What a wonderful talk. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
we look forward to seeing that up on the website soon. So you can all have a look at it again in your own time.